Prime Empire definitely will go down as one of the more divisive seasons when it does come to Ninjago. There is a lot of praise for this season, but there is also a lot of criticism that also comes along with it. But that's completely fine and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not discussing the season today. I want to discuss the fact that this season came along with 2 sets of minifigures for the ninja. And the main one of those 2 is the Digi suits. These served as the main ninja outfit when it did come to this season, and the minifigure form completely reflects that, as they were the main staple when it did come to the Prime Empire wave. But the thing is that now we're looking back at those minifigures, are they really good and do they actually hold up in comparison to when they actually came out? So that is going to be what we look at today. We are going to take a look at the 5 Digi suits that we did get through Prime Empire. Of course, Zane never got his, even though we do have renditions on what it looked like. Spoiler alert, I actually think that one actually looked pretty cool. But the thing is that we have got these ones in front of us and we're going to look through them today. And I want to know, do you like the Digi suits? Do you dislike them? I would love to know, but I'm going to go through them one at a time, show them off, and really just give a recommendation based on them, because I have a very particular opinion about these, and I really want to share it. So let me not waste any more of your time, and let's look at the Digi minifigures. Now here they are all together, and I will say, as a unified group, they look absolutely amazing. All of them look unified, but also having their own unique identities at the exact same time. They all take on the similar design pattern-esque formula, but they all have their own unique spin. So whilst they look uniform, they still look unique at the exact same time, which I do think is the perfect combination when it does come to a full ninja team. Removing the brand new ninja masks also does show some brand new ninja face prints as well. Now, I will say immediately, and I'll go into them specifically, I do like the masks, but I do think they're very much specific to this suit. But the face prints are also very good, because we do get new expressions for each and every single one of the ninja, and all of them have value just simply because of that. And I like the fact that we do have new smile expressions for all of them, and an afraid one for Kai. But then on the other side of these new head prints also do come these new visors, and I will say they definitely do feel like a precursor, concept art-esque type face when it does come to the merge visors as well, but I do think these are fantastic looking. I will say these are very similar in vein to the mask. I will only ever display the mask on the Digi outfits, and I will only ever display these visors when it does come to the Digi masks as well. But there's nothing wrong with that, and it definitely does make them unique. But now let's look at them individually. Starting off with Kai, I really do like this minifigure when it does come to him. He does share a lot of design elements when it does come between him and Jay, but the thing is that that's actually fairly common practice when it does come to those 2 characters. But more on Jay later. The Kai color and detailing are absolutely amazing. The white and the red and darker red blend in very well with each other, and it definitely does have a very nice flow. I was initially skeptical of the white, but I definitely do think it works here. Although to take the mask straight back off, I want to point out something that is unique when it does come to this Kai head print. The thing is that the actual regular side of Kai that's not the visor, whilst I do think the detailing is pretty cool on the face, the thing is that he's actually missing his bandage specifically this time round. This is not something that happens again, and I have no clue why it happens, but it definitely does make Kai's face feel a little bare. And the thing is that whilst it's really cool, it just does feel inaccurate, which is a minus. But that is just nitpicking. What's not nitpicking though is the fact that his digital weapon, being a sword, is absolutely amazing. All of the ninja do have these, and I'll show them all off, but I do think whilst Kai's is quite simple in nature, it is absolutely amazing. A sword is what Kai does and what he does best. So I definitely do think this translates really well, and I do think the controller hilt is just a very nice bonus, and having him pose with this weapon is definitely a must-have. So I definitely do think in terms of the Digi Ninja, this is a massive plus and a really solid beginning when it does come to this line. I definitely do think this is a really fun minifigure, and it's definitely a unique Kai at that, which is always something that I do look for when it does come to Ninjago minifigures, so again, it is always a plus. But Kai is definitely an essential piece to this lineup, even though he was the first one that actually got eliminated from Prime Empire. But that's enough of him, let's move on to the next. The second one up is going to be Cole. Now, initially speaking, I actually didn't really like the Digi Cole design. I actually thought it was just a little bit uninspired. But now we're actually moving on into a more present day, it's definitely grown on me. The printing and the detailing is a little more simple, but I actually really do like it. This is exclusive to him in terms of how the design is laid out, and I definitely do like how it looks. There's not as much white as well, but I don't think that's a bad thing, and I really do like what they've done here. One thing that did confuse me at the time, and does still confuse me to this very day though about this minifigure, is the fact that he's just got one grey glove. Now, this is the only real piece of grey when it does come to the minifigure, because anything else that resembles grey is more of a metallic, whereas this is actually just a dull grey. It really does stand out, and I initially thought my minifigure was incorrect, but that is accurate, and whilst I've definitely grown on it, I don't think it's bad whatsoever. And honestly, kinda cool. His Digi weapon is actually going to be a controller version of the Scythe. Now, this is definitely more unique in comparison to the others, because this is the only Digi weapon that actually has a piece that isn't actually in this translucent green. But I actually think this looks really cool. I think it's a very unique Scythe for Cole, and I definitely do think it works in context of the story itself. And honestly speaking, I think it's possibly the best weapon of this lot, but that's just kind of me. I can see why you would prefer another. So considering the fact that he was initially possibly my least favourite, he's definitely come to be one of my favourites, and definitely on an overall another very solid addition when it does come to the Digi lineup. Again, in similar vein of Kai, he does go up fairly early, but I don't think that matters. And honestly, I just think it's just a very solid minifigure all round, a very fun Cole, and definitely does function exactly as you would want when it does come to a Cole. So yeah, it gets a thumbs up from me. Next up, which is actually going to be the Lloyds, and in case you haven't noticed yet, I'm doing these in order of when they get eliminated from the game. Now I will say, when these minifigures first came out, this was actually my favourite. I've always really liked the Digi Lloyd design. I love how they contrast the green with the white, and that implementation of that much brighter, almost lime-like green, I think is amazing when it does come to this minifigure. It's not overbearing, and they did it just right. A highlight of this Digi Lloyd has always been the alternate head print for me as well. This smug look from Lloyd I genuinely think is one of the best Lloyd head prints we have ever gotten. Now, we are no stranger to smiling faces from Lloyd, but I definitely do think this is the best one. Having this in contrast to the more stoic looks that we do have from the Dragon's Rising minifigures, I think it's the perfect contrast. So honestly, this head print alone is more than worth it in my opinion. That Digi weapon as well is just really good. It is just by all accounts just a translucent lime green variant of the sword he's had since season 8, but the thing is that I really do like how this looks. I like that they did get to reutilize this piece, which wasn't initially a Lloyd piece, and actually made it into something that looks pretty good when it does come to his weapon. Again, I love that he just has this large blade. I think it perfectly suits him, and it definitely does add to this minifigure a lot because it is green as well. This minifigure has just genuinely stood the test of time for me, and is overall one of the best rounded Digi minifigures that are in this line. Honestly, I think this Lloyd just does everything correct when it does come to Lloyd minifigures, and you can really just see it plain as day when it does come to it. I really like what they did here, and honestly, it's definitely still one of the best ones in my opinion. I don't think it's my absolute favourite anymore, but that's because there is one in particular that does beat it out, which we'll get on to next, which is going to be Digi Nia. I have to say, this is definitely, in my opinion, the best entry when it does come to the Digi line. Using that gunmetal grey that she always has, and now introducing that azure blue in such a prominent role, I definitely do think this minifigure looks absolutely fantastic. The printing and the detail is also absolutely top tier, and I definitely don't think they skipped out when it does come to this minifigure. This is really ahead of the time when it does come to her. I actually find this really funny in retrospect because she is by far the most standout minifigure of the lot, and by far also the most unique. And this is in comparison to the main ninja of the season, Jay, which shares a load of design elements with Kai. You would think Jay would also have one to the standard of Nia, but again, more on him in a minute. And I have to say as well, going back to that alternate head print, I really love the smirk that they do have on Nia here, and it's definitely one of my go-tos when it does come to a smiling Nia face. But she does have one letdown, unfortunately, which is going to be her Digi weapon. It's just the singular claw-like hook piece, which is something that's on both Cole's and Jay's. And honestly, I think they could have just done a lot better here. They could have gone for a more spear-like pose, which is ultimately something that they just didn't go in on. This is mostly down to the fact that they're all reutilizing that weapons multi-pack that was introduced in Hunted, and this was a part of it. So getting a new piece was probably unviable, but it's definitely just a shame. But apart from that one really small setback, she is definitely one of the best entries when it does come to Digi. I really do think this is one of her best looking outfits, but there is another drawback that I'm going to get to at the very end of this video. But I will just say, as it stands as a minifigure, this is an amazing top tier Nia. I think they did everything correct with her, and it's definitely the blueprint when it does come to color palettes and overall design when it does come to her. But this brings us into the last ninja, which is going to be Jay. The printing and the detail on the main ninja for Prime Empire is amazing. You can see, like I said, it is very much inspired and very similar when it does come to Kai. And whilst I don't mind that because it is a fantastic look, it is definitely at least a little bit of a shame, but I don't think it takes away from the fact that it does look amazing, and I would argue it does look better on Jay in comparison to Kai. Again, Jay getting that amazing smirk expression I do think is an amazing addition. I think it's possibly one of his best smiling faces, but that could definitely be debated because we do have some really solid entries there. But I will say, again, in similar vein to Lloyd, a really nice contrast from face prints like his Rogue face print, which is very stoic. I really do like what this Jay face brings to the table, and it's definitely a worthwhile one in terms of Jay on an overall display scale. His Digi weapon is just a flail that is exactly the same as his regular one, just in the Digi form. And I will say I do really like this weapon in show. In terms of the minifigure, it is difficult to pose him with, which is a little bit of a shame, but I don't think it takes away from the minifigure. I think it's a fantastic use of the controller piece, and definitely is one of the better ones as well. There is no Digi weapon that really misses, I guess apart from Nia's, but the thing is that it is just a very solid addition as well. So to round things off as the main ninja, he definitely is a fantastic one. I do think he's definitely one of the highlights, even though there are some drawbacks, but I think that is beside the point. As a main ninja and as the focus of the season, it works. It works really well, and there is a lot of upsides when it does come to this Jay. So yeah, he is definitely a fantastic way to end it all off and to round off this collection. So I think that just leaves one more thing, the recommendation. Because do I recommend these minifigures that I have praised for the last 10 minutes? No. And that might feel like whiplash when it does come to this video, but unfortunately I simply cannot recommend it for a handful of reasons. For one, if you're going for every single ninja minifigure in every single line, then yeah, get it. You won't be disappointed whatsoever. But in the context that I've always looked at when it does come to these minifigure reviews, which is it good as a representation of the ninja? It isn't. These are extremely season-specific suits and only function as a display when it does come to Prime Empire. So if you like that season and you want it displayed, they're perfect. You will not be disappointed. But the thing is that if you want a singular expression of Ninjago, there are just simply better options out there. And that doesn't take away from the outfits whatsoever, it is just an objective fact. But the thing is that there is just one more drawback when it does come to them, which is gonna be the price. This is one of the cheapest Jay minifigures, so there's not a problem there. Lloyd and Kai are also fairly cheap when it does come down to it. Cole, if you want the fully completed minifigure, he is actually quite expensive, because the non-shoulder pad variant is in one of the cheapest sets, which is easy to get. But if you want the shoulder pads, you're either going to have to take it from another ninja, or you're going to have to get the full version, which is definitely a price increase. But that is nothing in comparison when it does come to Nia. Nia is very expensive when it does come to this lineup because she was exclusive to one of the biggest sets and that was it. So she is way beyond the price when it does come to the rest of the ninja. You can buy all of the Digi Ninja for the price of just Digi Nia and have money to spare. And when you think of it in that context, you could just simply go and buy another line of ninja outfits which are better looking and more of a universal representation of Ninjago, and again still have money to spare. And so it's honestly just the main detractor for me. Which is just a massive shame because she is my personal favourite here, but I just can't recommend it for that particular reason. So I do think on an overall, whilst I do really like this range of minifigures and I think all of them are really cool, I just don't think they're worth the money. I don't think they're worth it in terms of a display, and I definitely do think there are just much better options out there. And honestly, I hate saying that because I would like to recommend it, but under those circumstances, I can't. But that is ultimately just my opinion, and this is where I do want to pass it off to you guys. Do you own the Digi Ninja? Do you not own them, and do you want them? Which is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? I would love to know what your thoughts are when it does come to this line, because there's certainly a unique set of minifigures. And like I said, there are just unfortunate downsides here when it does come down to it. And that is just a massive shame, because I would love to recommend every and all Ninjago minifigures. But I'm just really conscious of that price tag. But I want to know, is that something that would be in the way for you? Because honestly, at the end of the day, it varies for everyone. So that's why I would like to know. But thank you very much for watching the video, and I do hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. I love discussing Ninjago with more people. And if you do want to support the channel any further, which you do not have to, you could always become a channel member and join the legends that you see on screen. Each of your support means the absolute world to me, and I truly cannot thank you enough. But like I said, that's about it for today, and take care. Okay, bye!